why they are madly in love with Rimuru. When Diablo brings the three ladies back to Tempest, he firmly orders them to completely conceal their demonic race. He therefore deliberately introduces them to Rimuru without revealing their true primordial nature. The concealment orchestrated by Diablo was diabolically precise. Even the most experienced holy knights would never have been able to uncover the true nature of the three ladies. And yet, Rimuru, or more precisely, Raphael, instantly identifies their identity as primordials without the slightest effort. This brutal revelation leaves the three demonesses completely shaken, their masks of confidence cracking in an instant. In the conversation that follows, Diablo, true to himself, begins to unleash his usual flood of boasting, ready to once again parade his greatness. But Rimuru cuts him off sharply, categorically refusing to indulge in this spectacle. Given the attitude of the three ladies at that moment and the way they perceive Diablo on a daily basis, an existence they respect but often find exasperating, it is easy to imagine the immense relief they must have felt. Moreover, seeing the unsurpassable Diablo being put back in his place by a mere human, at least in appearance, further reinforces Rimuru's image of overwhelming superiority in their eyes. Primordials are existences that, by their mere presence, normally sow terror and chaos. Dino, who nevertheless knows their true nature, literally turns pale upon seeing them in the room. Rimuru, on the other hand, remains calm to an almost Olympian degree, completely unperturbed. In reality, this serenity mainly stems from the fact that he still does not realize that they are the legendary Primordials, an almost blissful innocence. But from the demoness's perspective, it is the exact opposite. They interpret this nonchalance as the mark of a being who instantly pierced through their identity, and deem them unworthy of even the slightest reaction. We are not even worth worrying about, they think. The result, their admiration skyrockets even further. John, in particular, continues to radiate a threatening and intimidating aura throughout the entire meeting, but Rimuru pays absolutely no attention to it, an indifference that, in the eyes of the demonesses, only further confirms just how abnormal he truly is. The two decisive acts that definitively seal their devotion are, without any doubt, the provision of stable physical bodies that allow them to incarnate and remain in the material world, and above all, the granting of names, this naming ceremony that greatly strengthens them. Let us begin with the granting of names, which is easier to understand. Bestowing a name is an act reserved for powerful beings, high-level magicians or demon lords, who transfer a portion of their own magicules to a monster in order to make it evolve. In general, these magicules never return to the giver except in rare exceptions. Even the greatest therefore hesitate to name too freely, especially when the recipient is already extremely powerful. The consumption of magicules then becomes colossal. Furthermore, performing a naming within the cardinal world requires risking one's own existence, a deadly gamble for many. Despite all of this, Rimuru does not hesitate for a single second. He names the three primordials all at once, without the slightest hesitation. For demonesses who revere above all else absolute brute strength, such a display of limitless power is simply monstrous and irresistible. By way of explanation, Rimuru can afford this feat thanks to several advantages. First, his skill Beelzebub possesses a stomach capable of storing the surplus magicules that he constantly produces. Second, if additional supply is required, he can draw directly from the colossal magicule reserve that is Veldora. Finally, Raphael precisely calculates the limit of automatic recovery, eliminating any risk of permanent loss. That said, drawing from Veldora systematically puts him in a bad mood. This is why, for the three ladies, Rimuru used exclusively the reserves he had patiently accumulated in advance. The other gesture that completely overwhelms them. Rimuru provides them with perfect physical bodies without the slightest apparent effort. Before joining his side, the three primordials amuse themselves with a cruel game, using only the strength of their own subordinates, which one of them would obtain the best incarnated body first. The details of their respective attempts are long and complex, but the result is simple. All three failed miserably. And then Rimuru, as if it were the most mundane thing in the world, creates custom-made vessels for them. Even better, instead of using standard magisteel, he generously incorporates gold to create orichalcum, an absolutely luxurious extra service. He even personally fine-tunes each body for perfect compatibility. Faced with such royal treatment, the three demonesses are satisfied far beyond their expectations. These two acts, mass naming and high-end vessels, are more than enough to explain why their admiration reaches staggering heights. But in reality, even before these gestures, their hearts had already been won. From the very first glance, Blanc declares with burning passion, "From the instant my eyes crossed paths with your lordship, my heart began to race and can no longer stop." Violet and John, with varying intensities, also express their ardent desire to serve under his command. In other words, Rimuru has done almost nothing concrete at this point, and yet they are already ready to do anything for him. It is nearly a pure and simple case of love at first sight. Without this, as they themselves had stated, a disappointing Rimuru would have been purely and simply eliminated. They would never have asked to become his subordinates. But could Primordials, being so ancient and calculating, really fall in love without a valid reason, just like that? It seems unlikely. There must be another factor, and that factor is most certainly the color of the soul. Demons, as pure spiritual entities, instinctively perceive the hue of souls, which reveals the true deep nature of each being. For example, the color violet often symbolizes cruelty and pure sadism, while green evokes a serious, almost rigid temperament. The Trinity spin-off even shows us a fascinating nuance. Even within the same color, a deeper shade can completely alter personality. A dark merchant of the green lineage thus proves to be extremely calculating, obsessed with contracts and personal gain, a variation that makes each soul unique and unpredictable. It is within this ability to perceive souls that the ultimate key to the Primordials' irresistible attraction to Rimuru may lie. His soul resembles no other. It emits an exceptional brilliance, a light that transcends ordinary hues. We have striking proof of this during his evolution into an awakened demon lord, when his entire body lit up with a flickering aura, displaying the 7 colors of the rainbow, a rare phenomenon that left all witnesses marked. Even Dino, one of the 7 primordial angels and a former direct servant of Veldanava, could not help but comment on this singularity that is Rimuru's soul. An immediately recognizable brilliance, a nostalgic sensation, yet different from that of my former master. These words, coming from a being so ancient and powerful, confirm that Rimuru's soul bears a divine imprint, a purity and depth that evoke the very origins of the world without copying them. And don't forget to go watch that video if you haven't already. You won't regret it. It is precisely this unique glow, this unreplicable essence, that most likely bewitched the 3 primordials from the very first glance. A soul capable of fascinating millennia-old entities so jaded and ruthless, that alone explains why they fell so quickly and so deeply. So, what do you think? We now understand why Rimuru, through his mere existence and his seemingly insane acts of generosity, managed to captivate living legends such as Testarossa, Carrera, and Ultima. Every gesture, from mass naming to the creation of orichalcum bodies, only served to strengthen that initial fascination. And let us not forget their subordinates, Moss, Cien, Esprit, Agera, Veyron, Zonda. All of them vastly surpass the majority of monsters and even some minor demon lords. Their strength grows in perfect symbiosis with the evolution of their mistresses, creating a demon hierarchy of terrifying coherence. Together, these elite demons form what is known as the Black Numbers, the personal army of the Primordials under Diablo's command. Their absolute moment of glory undoubtedly remains the war against the Eastern Empire. When more than 600 demons were summoned simultaneously, the scene was simply overwhelming, an ocean of black that swept over the Imperial forces like an inexorable storm. This video now comes to an end, but our exploration of the universe of Tensei Shitara Slime Data Ken is only just beginning. If you enjoyed diving into the secrets of the Primordials and their legions, don't hesitate to subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming analyses. We'll see each other very soon for new and exciting discoveries. Until next time.